All right, I just got back from watching Spider-Man No Way Home, and I wanted to get my review up. And I got to tell you, I was very surprised by the film itself. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break this review into several parts. So the first part of my review is going to be completely spoiler-free. And then the second part of it, and I'll let you guys know when I'm going to get into some spoiler territory, because I'm not going to spoil the film in a massive way, but I do want to talk about some stuff that this film fixed for me that I had issues with in previous films. Now, I'll go into this letting you know I've never been a huge Tom Holland fan as Spider-Man. The first two films, I never felt like he was Spider-Man. The films, they felt like Marvel films with no real identity. And, I mean, he was good. I enjoyed him in the Avengers films. But as far as him going solo, I just never bought him being Spider-Man. He never got to feel like Spider-Man. And the good news is this movie definitely fixes that. So this movie does pick up where the last one leaves off, where everybody finds out who Spider-Man is. And the first half an hour of this film, I was not digging it at all because they kind of made a joke out of it. Something that should have been very serious was very lighthearted, silly. It was downright silly. And they even made a lot of jokes that I thought were inappropriate for the situation they put themselves in. So the first half an hour or so, I really did not enjoy. But then when they started bringing in the villains from these other universes, and if you've seen the trailers, I'm not giving anything away, they're in it. And my fear was that they were only going to be in it for a few minutes. Well, that is not the case. This whole movie revolves around these villains from these other universes. And I was very, very surprised by that. I wasn't expecting that. And in fact, what I really enjoyed, one of the rights that was fixed for me was I really hated Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like that movie, I loved the Amazing Spider-Man. In fact, that is my favorite Spider-Man movie, the first one with Andrew Garfield. And they got it so wrong with the second film. Like, they messed it up bad. And I thought they took Electro's character, who was a very, beat-down person, and kind of made a joke out of it. I have an old retro review on my channel here where I talk about that. That's one of those films that I reviewed, and I just didn't like what they did with him. I think they did a disservice. Well, the good news is in this movie, there's a lot more humanity to every single one of the villains. You get to see more of them than you did in their respective films in these other universes. And I was really happy with the way they wrote the story and how that was fleshed out. It really surprised me. I was not expecting to get something so fleshed out of a Marvel film. I just was not expecting that. And, I'm not a Marvel fan by nature. Obviously, I'm a DC guy through and through. But my favorite Marvel film, and the only one I give a solid 5 stars to, is, Captain America 2 Winter Soldier. That movie was visceral, well put together, amazingly paced, well acted, hardcore, and I love that movie. The music, everything. That is a perfect film to me. And the rest of the Marvel films, all of them to some degree they're just silly and cookie cutter. And so I like something a little deeper than that. And this movie brought that. I was really surprised by what they did. And I love the ending of this movie. I thought the third act of this film was the best part of the entire film. And it really fixed a lot of issues I've had with the character of Spider-Man for some previous films and just what the route that they've taken. So at the end of the day, here is my overall score on the film, and then I'm going to get into some spoiler territory here. I gave this film 4.5 stars. I would love to give it 5, but I can't because of the silliness and the goofiness that Marvel can't help themselves with that stuff. And in this film, it was completely unnecessary, should have never happened. And so I am definitely going to, I almost thought about knocking that down a full star, but I didn't. I thought about it, but 4.5 is what I'm going to give it. So let's talk about the things that it fixed for me. First of all, like I said before, I never felt like Tom Holland was Spider-Man. To me, he just seemed, I don't know. In this movie, you see that he's very inexperienced, and that's the way he's kind of been portrayed for the first, this is his, fifth outing in these Marvel films, or possibly sixth if you count the last two Avengers movies. But they fixed that in this. By the end of the film, the very final shot, he is full on Spider-Man now. And I was happy to see them do that because I just never felt like he was Spider-Man. I wanted to see a deep Spider-Man film, and we just hadn't had that up until this point. And at the end, after everything that happens, and like I said, I'm not going to do any major spoilers in this, they fixed that, and he is now definitely Spider-Man. So let's talk about the other things that it fixed for me. I will tell you that as far as I rank these films, my absolute favorite Spider-Man film is The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. That movie to me was like Batman Begins was when I saw Batman Begins in the theater. It was one of the best superhero origin films I've seen. I thought Andrew Garfield did an incredible job. That movie had some amazing emotion to it that no Spider-Man movie has ever had. It was very emotional at the end. You could feel his pain. I love that movie, and the fact that James Horner did the music, he can convey emotions like nobody else can. And then they really screwed it up with Part 2. And Part 2 was goofy, silly, all over the place. And I didn't like what they did with the villains, and then they killed MJ off way too fast. I felt cheated by what they did. Well, the good news is, with how this movie turns out, I'm going to get into some spoilers here now, and if you don't want to hear anything major, turn away now. As you can figure, if they're bringing in all these supervillains from these other universes, the Spider-Mans from those universes need to be in this. So they did bring back Andrew Garfield, and they did bring back Tobey Maguire to play their respective Spider-Mans. And there was an amazing shot in this film. It was the time where I really smiled, and it just brought me joy, was to see all three of them together as Spider-Man towards the end of the film, and they're ready to go. That, to me, was freaking awesome. So I love what they did and how they fixed the whole MJ thing. You can still see that Andrew Garfield is feeling the pain even after all the years of what happened. To Gwen, not MJ, to Gwen. And in this, it looks like history is about to repeat itself, and that's when they fix it. And it makes me more tolerable. It's going to make me more tolerable of seeing The Amazing Spider-Man 2 now, knowing that their stories have continued, and they didn't fix Gwen is not back. That's not what I mean. You'll see the scene. I'm not going to give it all away. But they fix an issue, with what happened there, and they give Andrew Garfield some redemption. And I absolutely love that. That, to me, was freaking awesome. And the fact that they also fixed Electro. So those two things really made me happy, because those were the biggest issues I had with the Andrew Garfield 2 films. As far as Tobey Maguire comes back, I've never been a huge Tobey Maguire fan. I didn't really care for him as Spider-Man. I think he's a little goofy for my tastes. But it was good to see him back. And his villains, wow, Doc Ock in this film, like he stole the show. Wow, I was really impressed with his story arc and what they did with him. It was somewhat emotional and had a very good impact. And I was really happy to see Alfred Molina back to play Doc Ock. And for people who don't know, I'm just going to throw in a little tidbit of movie history here that people may not know. But in Raiders of the Lost Ark at the beginning, that was Alfred Molina's first role. He was the guy at the beginning who stole the idol from Harrison Ford. So he's come a long way, and he gets to come back and play Doc Ock, and in amazing fashion. So things were fixed. I loved what they did with all of these characters, and how it ends. It opens up a huge doorway to bring these guys back in the future, and I look forward to seeing what they're going to do with they already announced that what's his name? I hate it when I do this. Tom Holland is going to be back for 3 more Spider-Man movies, and they definitely lay the groundwork for that in the end credit scenes. So there's 2 scenes in the credits. The first one has everything to do with what they're going to be doing with Spider-Man in the future. And then the second one is really more of, and this is again spoiler territory, it's really a trailer for Doctor Strange 2. It really has nothing to do with Spider-Man. So it's not really a Spider-Man end credit scene. It is more of a mini trailer for, I believe it's going to be called Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, I think is what it's called. I didn't really care for the first Doctor Strange movie. I'm not really looking forward to that film. I've really been burned out on the Marvel films, to be honest with you. I went and saw Shang-Chi, and I didn't even review that. Again, I enjoyed it. I thought the first half was better than the second half, but cookie cutter Marvel stuff. And same with Black Widow. I love the first half, but the second half, again, it became cookie cutter. There was nothing amazing about it, but I did like the beginning of both of those movies. So I didn't even review those. Both of those films I'd give 3.5 stars to. But this movie, I was smiling by the end. Like, I really enjoyed this. It is my third favorite, or my second favorite Spider-Man film. My favorite is going to be The Amazing Spider-Man. The combination of Andrew Garfield, the seriousness of the movie, the emotion, the character building in that, along with James Horner's music. I love the score for that movie. I love that movie a lot. It is a 5-star Spider-Man film for me. I would put this second, and I would put Spider-Man 2, the one with Tobey Maguire, as my third favorite Spider-Man film, and then all the others pale in comparison. So I'm really looking forward to what they're going to be doing in the future. All right, I appreciate you guys sticking around for the review. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you will be notified when I have new reviews and other videos go up. I do appreciate it. We'll see you guys soon.